Hi, everybody. Welcome to WordPress St. Petersburg. You are here tonight for our Gutenberg or Bus Talk, revisiting the block editor in WordPress. If you are here from YouTube or etc., hi. We are actually a live stream tonight, so there are going to be some folks actually calling in and talking to. But if you aren't, that's okay too. Just enjoy the talk, and we'll get started with it right now. Okay. So, like I said, this is WordPress St. Petersburg. We meet at downtown St. Pete on the first and third Tuesdays monthly at the Suncoast Developers Guild. We are not meeting obviously this month because of the COVID-19 issue, and we also will not be meeting in July at Suncoast Developers Guild. We're going to continue our live streams throughout. Our meetup website is meetup.com, WordPress St. Petersburg. Our website is wptampabay.org. If you go to our website, you'll see links to our Slack chat, Facebook group, and all of our meetups across the Tampa Bay area. I am Jim True. I am the I am a support engineer at Gravity Forms, at gravityforms.com. I'm also the community support lead at the Pods framework, which I do as volunteer, and that's at pods.io. Um, Tonight we'll be focusing on blocks specifically. Oh, before I forget, my dear friends Jen and Travis are also here tonight, joining us. Say hi, guys.
Hi
Hello.
guys.
Thanks. They're the other two co-organizers at WordPress St. Petersburg. Jen works as a freelancer, and Travis is a lead developer over at Gravity Forms. Elaine would be here, but she's in the air. So tonight we're going to be focusing on blocks. We'll be looking at content strategy as blocks. So we'll be discussing kind of like how you can look at the way you design your website and focusing on it in a block format to kind of get a better idea how it works, or getting ready for the block editor anyway. Then we're going to talk about getting around the block editor. We're going to be doing this actually live on our demo so that you guys can actually see how the editor works and all the different parts of it. Navigating around your post, kind of like show you how to move around both with your keyboard and with the mouse. Helpful blocks. I'll be showing off some of the helpful blocks that are available as part of the Gutenberg block editor. And other block collections. These are other plugins that provide additional blocks. And questions. And so that's kind of our format for tonight. That's our agenda for tonight. So, when you're thinking about the block editor, you want to think about Legos. And what I mean by that is that your blocks are actually at their lowest point. They're a block, like like one little tiny Lego block is actually one block. If you have a whole gigantic bag of Legos, you pick up a block, and that is like this one little piece. A pattern would be something like a wing. In this case, it's the side of a wing. So there's like probably about 20 little blocks in there, all done in a specific arrangement, and it creates a pattern. And then you have a layout, which would be the actual toy that you're building at the end. And you pop that little guy on there, and you have a little a little TIE fighter from Star Wars. So that's kind of how they want you to think about your block configuration inside the block editor. What they've done here on this screen, and there's also a link down here at the bottom to the makewordpress.org. It actually explains the whole idea of blocks, patterns, and layouts. What they think of as a pattern would be like a contact form, or maybe a call to action, or maybe like a list of testimonials, that sort of a thing. And each of the individual blocks are the pieces that make up that particular item. Like for a contact form, maybe let's say this is a map, and this is a subject line, and this is like your text line. Maybe there's some buttons or something there. And the layout, what they consider a layout, is your entire layout, like your header, your navigation bar, your primary website thing, and your footer. However, they have not actually incorporated any of these pieces as part of the WordPress blocks yet. So I would kind of hold that as a grain of salt until they do. So that's the last of our actual slides, I believe. I think our next one is a demo, so let me check and see. Yep, it is. So I'm going to share my other screen real quick. And hey guys,
Hello.
I'm going to share a website real fast that I have created using the Gutenberg block editor, and we will go through kind of the things you want to know about, or the big important tips you want to think about when you're playing with the block editor. So give me just a second. All right, share. All right, we are in the block editor right now called Getting Around in Gutenberg. Let me actually go back to the page because this is not where I wanted to be. I wanted to go to the website. There we go. So we're on our website, getting around in Gutenberg. The first thing you want to do if you're planning on playing around with the Gutenberg editor, because if you're not used to it yet, you want to be able to work the way you normally do. So you also want to be able to not only install the Gutenberg plugin, but also use the classic editor so you're comfortable with what you used to do. So what you want to do is go to your plugins. How's the screen look? Is that good size or too small?
Looks good.
I'll pump up a little bit. The classic editor is the one you want to install, and install that one from, like, add new plugins, classic editor, and then Gutenberg. And if you actually go to the add new screen, both of those, the classic editor and Gutenberg, will always be visible in the first splash page of editors.
But you don't actually need the Gutenberg plugin to use the new
You
block
don't
editor.
need to
You
have
just
it.
need that if you want to like try
Um,
out the new experimental features that haven't been merged into WordPress yet.
that is true, but honestly, I highly recommend doing it until they completely stop developing inside Gutenberg separately, because most of the stuff you may actually need is actually going to be in there. And you can turn on your experimental stuff. Like all of these are Gutenberg adds like a whole little section here that allows you to basically see what a demo of the Gutenberg editor looks like. It allows you to leave. I don't want to do that one because I'll show you that post later. It allows you to get support, documentation, and then experiments. And this allows you to turn on each of these little items, which I haven't touched and don't really want to go there yet.
I would probably recommend using that just like on your staging site instead of your production site because sometimes with the Gutenberg
Well, if you're going to
plugin,
be
they
playing,
are
yeah,
well,
if you're going
sometimes
to
they
be
are
playing,
changing APIs that haven't yet been
yeah.
added into main WordPress. So some plugins and blocks you use out there might break. Like
Gotcha.
they likely won't, but just something to be aware of.
Okay. Good recommendation. The other item you want to do is go into settings writing. Once you install the classic editor, you're going to get this little block. I can't, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it a little better. You're going to get these two little options. You can select the default editor for all users, and you can allow users to switch editors. I would, while you're playing with it, before you actually, turn it over to your client, allow users to switch editors. And I would probably, if you're planning on launching with the Gutenberg editor, make your default editor be the block editor. Because if you don't, and you go to that Gutenberg demo thing, it's actually going to load it in the classic editor, and then it won't work. So those are my two recommendations as far as that one goes. Now I'm actually going to get inside this particular, where did that page go? Excuse me. My bad. There we go. All right, let me get back in here and edit this page. This page is in Gutenberg, so I'm going to change my zoom down a little bit. There we go. All right. When you first open the block editor, especially inside a new version of WordPress, it's going to be in this weird full screen mode, which I don't really like. So the very first thing I also do is take it out of full screen mode so that I get my menu and my admin bar back. I don't like having those not visible because I like to know where I am. So that is, like I said, it's in this little 3-dot menu in the right in full screen mode. If you click that, you can get out of it hitting the W, but why do that when you can just, turn it off like that? And while we're doing this, let's go ahead and talk about all the little areas of the Gutenberg editor. The first thing you want to pay attention to is this little upper left-hand control bar here. You've got an option here to add the block. You've got an option to switch back and forth between edit and select. They call this the tools menu, which means I'm guessing they're going to probably be adding more things to it. But if you're looking at it, I'm in edit mode right now because you can see I've got a little toolbar. I can come in here and I can make edits, or I can switch to select, and then my box is unselectable until I click it. You can also flip back and forth by using the escape key and double clicking. So if you escape, double click. Escape, click, like that. Pretty straightforward. There's an undo and a redo. So if I delete that word, I can hit undo and bring it back, or I can hit redo and take it away again. So pretty straightforward. this little item here is called an info panel, or a content structure rather, and it tells you like the number of words, the headings, paragraphs, blocks, and kind of like your document outline that you currently have going right now. The most important thing up here, honestly, is the block navigation, because what I found is working in Gutenberg is that with the way that the blocks are defined sometimes, especially when you're down in some of these more complicated ones, it's kind of hard to figure out where you are. And so the block navigation can actually tell you, okay, list, there's the YouTube. It'll help you kind of like move back around your document a little better. There's also, in conjunction with this, there's also way down here at the bottom, if you can see it, there is a document, and that actually took us to the very top of the page, I believe. Yeah. There's a where am I breadcrumb down here. So, does that make sense for you guys? I'm asking.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of ways to find out where you are.
It's a lot of ways to find out where you are, but when you think about it, all I ever pretty much use is this one, and then pretty much like work around the blocks. Like if I want to get outside the block, I pop here and then click that. And you'll also notice that when you hover over, because that's the next item we're talking about, is the inline block controls. This little guy here is context sensitive. This is the block controls for the current block you're sitting in. It will tell you what the block type is. If you're in escape in the selection mode, it'll say I'm a list. But if I click it, then I get the icon for a list, and I can change the block type. So I could change my list to a paragraph or a group or a quote. It's kind of context sensitive based on that. You also have like specific controls that are specific to this block type. So like this is a list, so I can switch it to an ordered list, or I can switch it back to a bullet, to a bullet list, that kind of thing. You have the indent and outdent buttons here, and then your standard text editing right there. You also have like your standard TinyMCE additional formatting controls there. And then this little guy here to the far right is the, what did I call it? I don't think I put it on there. It's the more options. This more options allows you to hide the block settings, which if I click this, that gets rid of the right hand sidebar. Show block settings. This little gear does the exact same thing. And you'll notice that it also has a keyboard shortcut right beside it. Copy will copy the entire contents of this block. Duplicate will duplicate this block, and it'll pop it in right behind it. Insert before will insert a block before this. So if I click insert before, I now am at the block selection for the block in front of the one I just did.
Well, it looks like it inserts a paragraph block by default.
By default, it does until you go. I can hit the slash, the forward slash, and hit forward slash, and select it from the list, or I can back up that, and I've got the plus, and I can select whatever kind of block I want. So we haven't gone into this yet. We'll go into this in a minute when we talk about fancy blocks. But this is the block. This little box here also comes with this. It puts it over here for you, which is very fun. Yeah, you can't drag and drop. They pretty much are just going to go wherever your cursor is at the moment. So, and like it says it down here, while writing, you can press the forward slash to quickly insert new blocks. Let me get rid of that box. There we go. So I think you can leave this on all the time, but that would be really messy, I think, after a while. Where were we in these? Okay, we were down. Let me get rid of that block. Let me go back. And here is also remove block. Ta-da. So when you're in here, you've also got duplicate, insert before, insert after, edit as HTML, and then add to reusable and group. We're going to talk about reusable blocks toward the end, so I'm not going to go deep into that one right now. The other big option area you need to pay attention to is the right-hand control panel, this area over here to the right. You'll notice it has two settings.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
Siri is listening to me for some strange reason. I didn't say anything to Siri. Silly thing. Anyway, you've got a document, which is actually settings for the entire document. That's where you've got things like your featured image, your comment settings, page attributes, that kind of stuff. Block is just for the current block that I'm sitting in. If this block had any additional more complicated settings, they would be listed here. So like I think, nah, let me see if it's, I could remember that there was something, but I guess there wasn't. I thought there was another setting for the list settings here, but they're not. They're actually over here on the left-hand side. But the advanced here, this tab is available on all blocks, and it'll allow you to actually add a CSS class or multiple CSS classes so that you can actually specifically style certain things. So like if I added, I don't know, intro list there, that would put that CSS class in the entire div or whatever that holds this thing. I don't know if it'll actually put it in the unordered list or if it'll put it in the div, but we could look at that later. But the whole idea is that you can style things specifically using that additional CSS box. And those are called the sidebar navigation. Yeah. Or the, yeah, right-hand control panel. They call it block settings. And the way WordPress described this was, this should only hold settings that are beyond what you would need in editing mode. Primarily because the sidebar might be turned off by your user, and so they may never see them. So that was kind of what the reason they put them in that section. That's what that section is meant to hold. And then you have the global UI settings, which is right here beside the gear icon, the little three dotters. These are the more tools and options. Excuse me. Up here you have obviously the view options. Top toolbar allows you to move your context sensitive toolbar up to the top line, so that if you are more used to always having your toolbar for editing up here at the top, that's where it will be. The problem with this is that you kind of lose the ability to easily move things around. So like I'm here right now, I don't really have an option to move up because I'm at the top of the page, but I could move it down and then this video goes above it. And then if I'm still there, I guess I can move it back. I can't drag and drop. That's the big thing. Like if you go to the big toolbar up here, you no longer have handles. So like if I show you, I'll show you taking this one back again. If I turn off the top toolbar and I now have a handle that I can drag this particular item with. And that's what happens when you hover over this item. You get this little guy here that allows you to move up, move down, or drag it. Make sense? Kind of interesting stuff. The other item they wanted to show off here was the spotlight mode. So like, I'll go count. Like you can see what now in spotlight mode, this video block is gray. All of these other blocks are gray. This is good if you're showing your clients how to do stuff, because you can let them see, okay, I'm in one little block now. So it's good for training other people how to use it. I'm going to turn that off though. This is also how you get to your visual in your code editor. Yeah, we'll do it real quick. Ah, scary. I don't want to see that anymore. We'll go right back. It also allows you to switch. This is where you will find your plugin switch to classic editor. So if I'm in a Gutenberg block, I can switch to the classic editor from here. I'm not going to do it on this one because I'll lose all the wonderful stuff I've done, I think. And I don't want to do that. So this is also where you get to your block manager. This is a very useful one for being able to turn off blocks you don't use. So like if your clients never use code blocks, never use a classic editor, never do anything pre-formatted, don't do verses, whatever those are, won't be adding any kind of like, we'll just keep on going down here. Again, these are the WordPress widgets here. You can turn off most of those or make them not available. You can turn off almost all the embeds and only turn on things like YouTube, maybe, stuff like that.
Is this block manager for sure like applies to all users, or is it just your current user?
I believe this applies to all users. You can go look that up if you want to, because I can't tell you that for sure. It's a good question, but it should, or at least be a default for your next user, I would imagine. Yeah. So, but that is that. I'm going to turn those little guys back on real fast, and it's nice though because you can actually disable an entire set of blocks all at once, because that's how Plugins that are adding additional blocks other than the ones that come with the WordPress block editor are supposed to actually add their blocks inside their own little folders like this, so that you can actually turn them off and on very easily. You can also search up here for them as well. Let's see what else is in here. Manage reusable blocks. Hang on a second. Let me save my changes. That still works the same way it always did. You've got your publish, update, etc. The problem is, like, they've kind of removed the simple switch to draft and stuff like that. You don't have that fun little action box that you may have been used to. So you kind of have to get used to looking at it in a new way. All your previews are actually here. When you save a page, you still have your admin menu, so I can still click view page and go back and forth that way. But if you weren't used to doing it that way, you might get a little confused by these settings. So like, if we preview this on desktop, it will, and you have to, that's the weird thing. You've also got to select it, and you can kind of see what it would look like. So, kind of interesting. So, let's see, that was a global UI settings, spotlight mode, keyboard shortcuts. Those are available right here from your more tools and options menu and keyboard shortcuts. So you have like to display, they're not easy keyboard shortcuts. That's the problem. None of these are terribly easy. Like Command S on a Mac, Control S on a, I think on a Windows PC would save your changes. You've got the standard Command Z for undo and redo, that kind of stuff. For selection, excuse me, select all text when typing, press again to select all blocks. So like if we are in here, you go Command A and it selects all the text in that block, and then Command A again should select, what was that again? Let me see. I think that's what that said. Press again to select all blocks. That's what it says. Didn't do it. So, okay, fascinating. Anyway, moving on. So I think our next section was, yeah, that was all of those little guys. This video here, might watch this before using Gutenberg. I have a link to it, or I will add a link to it somewhere for you guys. The 5 tips for making Gutenberg easier for WordPress. This is kind of what I built most of this structure from and this outline from, because it really does hit the big things for me. It definitely made, for me, working around in Gutenberg a little easier. Before we go on, do we have any questions?
Doesn't appear to be in the live chat now.
I see some. Oh, no new questions. All just some people saying hi. Okay. Hi, everybody that's out there. If you have questions, we'll be 30 seconds ahead of you, so go ahead and ask them, and I'm sure the guys will catch me and let me know. We're going to move forward then to some common blocks and, and how you can easily move things around. So like I've got, like I said, I think I showed you the guys, like if I select this block, I have automatically an up and down dragger. I can move that up and put it right above the block I'm currently in. I can click it again to move it below it. Pretty straightforward. If I want to drag it, I can drag the whole thing. And it gets a little, I'm not a fan personally of dragging because it's too hard to aim where you're trying to go. And that's kind of why I use the navigation thingy. Like all of this is a list of all my top level blocks. You'll see that I have like several groups down here, and that drag and dropping is a little better when you're dealing with things like columns, groups, and stuff like that. So when we get down there, I'll show you kind of those kind of things. This is a cover, and a cover is a nested block. A cover block, and you'll see that's another way you can actually tell you're in a nested block, because it will put a parent box above the toolbar. So like when I hover over the paragraph, I get this little select parent for my cover, and that tells me I'm now controlling the outside block. The outside block is a cover. I've got the option to go align left, align center, align right, wide width or full width. I can also, if I have an image in here, I can actually say where I want the center corner of that image to be. I can also replace the image very easily using the replace button here. It
There's
also
there's a
has,
question in the chat. Is any of this different for posts versus pages? And no, you'll get the
no,
same editor for both.
yeah. And this doesn't matter if you're using custom post types either, because if you have custom post types with the REST API enabled on that post type when you register it, the editor will take over the content, the post content portion of your post type if you have post content enabled for that post type. So yeah, it's the exact same editor for all of them. There's no difference whatsoever. And if you're using a page builder and the page builder supports Gutenberg blocks, the blocks are available within the page builder. But I've yet to see a single page builder that has actually enabled that yet. So, but for the cover, and we'll show this one as like, this is one of the blocks they were showing off as being kind of powerful because it does allow you to create the whole idea of a hero box where you can kind of set up an image with big spacing on both sides of it, vertical and horizontal positions, a focal point picker, so I can actually, I can drag where I want my focal point to be within that graphic. So like if this were a, I don't know, like a landscape or something, and it wasn't exactly where I wanted it to be, I could drag it around until it found it. I could also make it fixed, and then it doesn't have any of that option. But if I turn the, turn off the fixed background, then I've got access to the focal point picker. So, it has some things like minimum height of cover, so I can set that in pixels. I can set the overlay, like at present I've got a solid black overlay at 16%. I can make it darker or lighter. I could change the color and make it like that. It's pretty straightforward. I can choose there's another little item too. Your theme can actually define a color palette. And I didn't have a chance to look this up for you guys, but we can possibly do it during an Ask Us Anything. Our next Ask Us Anything is actually on July 6th. But we can kind of show you how to add a custom color palette to your theme or theme options or something of that nature so that you can define something like this for your users so that they stay within the color spectrum that you want them to be in. Because they're the ones that's going to be editing in the block editor anyway for most pages, and it's kind of useful for that. But anyway, that's how that kind of works. So like this is I'm currently in here's a good one. I'm currently in a cover, and I have a paragraph. But I can add another paragraph I want to in here. Look, I am another paragraph. Exciting. I know, fascinating. I can also, since it's a text box or a paragraph, I can give it a drop cap. Isn't that exciting? And I can set the color for that drop cap, or the color for that text, I should say. I don't have the option to change the color of the drop cap. That's kind of stupid. Okay. But anyway.
And based on the color selection you've picked there, you've been presented with an accessibility warning.
Exactly. Which is, actually, I've never been able to get rid of this accessibility warning, no matter what. So I don't know if it's actually checking the graphic behind to see, or if it's checking anything to see.
What happens, just to see, that it seems like it's on that second paragraph you've had?
Yeah, second paragraph. So it did go that way. So
what
white
if you
to
reverse
black.
it? Can we just try something real quick?
Yeah. You want to
reverse that last change?
Like that?
Like drop the background color from it?
Okay. Clear.
And then what happens and then what happens if you up
the opacity on the background?
Increase the text size of that new paragraph.
Let's see. Nope.
No.
Nope.
Interesting.
Yeah. No idea. So apparently, maybe it has some very specific settings that are only based on these two. Because like if I choose a background color, see that one, it says it's fine. Yeah. Yeah, and it says that's fine and it shouldn't be. Well, I guess it's red with white. I guess that would be okay, but that isn't. Yeah.
It might be just be grabbing like an average of what that background image is.
Maybe.
Rather than where you specifically are.
Yeah, I think if we get lost in this, we're going to use the entire evening, so let's just not worry about it right now. Anyway, so I was going on, that's a hero box. This is a paragraph block here. Pretty straightforward. You've got bold text, underlined text. I can change the color of my text here. I can make the text subscript. I can make it superscript. The whole bit, kind of straightforward stuff. Subscript, superscript. I'll turn that one off. Apparently, you've got the ability to add an inline image here as well, but you can't add inline image and inline code, but you can't add like a font, like an icon or something. So that's interesting. The links work the same way they always did before. It's the shortcut for adding a link is Control K. It's your standard, and you've got the ability to open it in a new tab where you can edit it. So fairly straightforward. And you can still search too. Like if you want to link to something on this page, like I can link to my existing content just by searching instead of typing a URL. Okay, so I was impressed with this one. I love the table. I thought the table was actually a pretty good block because it's pretty straightforward. It allows you to do, when you're at the main control settings, you can do the default look, or you can do a stripes, and it allows you to see the different versions. I imagine if they ever create additional styles, you could have different settings for those as well. It allows you to turn on fixed table width cell width, fixed width table cells. You can turn on the header section, which I did for this one, a footer section, which I've never actually used, but I guess it would be like your table foot portion of your table. But as far as like editing within the table, it's pretty easy. I think I can tab. Yeah, when you tab, you actually tab between the cells, so that's kind of nice. When you're on a cell, you can actually use this. No, where is it? Ah, here it is. They have a it's column alignment. Must be this one. Yeah, edit table. You can add a row before, row after, delete row, add column before, column after, delete column. And when you're creating a new column, which we'll just do that right here, we will go insert after, and we'll go table. It's kind of neat because it allows you, when you're creating the table, to select your column and row count right off the bat. I thought the table editing was quite robust compared to what you currently have available. So, kind of neat. This is their quote. The quote's kind of nifty as well. It has like a default or a large style built in right off the bat. But what's really neat is the fact that it does actually include the citation portion of your quote. So like, I'll show you one of those again. I'll do another, if I hit enter here. Yep, new block. So if I go to quote, you get like write citation, write the quote. Pretty straightforward. That's how you're going to learn most of the blocks, by the way, is just hitting enter automatically will take you out of the current block you're in and allow you to start adding a new one, and you can select an item from the list like that, or you can, it's not so hard to do it once you're in that mode. You have to click the ownership of the box to click to get that back again, and then you can actually search for things. Like they've got pull quote. Is that any different than a quote? How is a pull quote different than a quote? Okay. Alrighty then. I guess it's just a different layout. It has like the quotation marks above and beyond. I guess centers it on the screen to be or not. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So instead of having the left-hand quote with the bar down the side, you've got another setup for that. So anyway, this little guy is a cover with a paragraph and a button. I don't like the Gutenberg buttons because this is actually supposed to be a black button, like in the color settings. It's a solid black button with white text, and it doesn't show that there. However, if I go in preview, we'll just preview new tab. There we go. Are you guys seeing that one? No, probably not. Hang on. Let me go to view page. See? It's centered and it looks right. But when I'm in it, it doesn't look right at all. So,
Well,
yeah, I thought that was kind of weird.
it is.
So anyway, let's get on back to where we were. Okay. Then let's check out some patterns. This is a header block, by the way. or a headline block, I think is what they call it. Let's see what they call it. Yeah, they call it a heading block. And you can set the heading level here. And you can change by default, it will use the styles that are coming from your theme, but you can change them. So, if you really want to get fun. And you can change the color settings as well, obviously. Hang on a second. Someone is calling me on my phone and needs to not be. Okay, that went away. All right. They have a thing called patterns, which I think we talked about at the beginning, where patterns are a combination of other blocks, and you can get to them through. I'll do it. Let me get up here to the insert after again. Excuse me. All right, got rid of it. They have blocks. They have patterns, and this is only available in this theme. None of the other block plugins that I have installed have done this, as far as like they're not using this particular block's patterns tab. So none of the ones I've seen have actually started using this yet. So they have like a 2 columns of text. They have an it's time, which is 2 columns of text in a gigantic box. They have a hero with a gradient image and text centered, a cover page basically. This one is a cover with a hero right column. We have 2 columns of text again. I'm not even following the organization here, but they have the button group, which is like a button group with more than one button in it, a gallery, features, testimonials, and then features and services. And I've kind of put them in here so that you can kind of see what they look like. This is a 2-column area with 2 paragraphs in it, I think. So if I go in here and look, yeah, it's a column. It's a column with 2 paragraphs, a left paragraph and a right paragraph. Until columns can flow, I'm probably not going to be using columns unless I was just doing something like where I needed 3 up services, like this thing down here, where you've got like services listed in, or like testimonials listed in 3s, or 1, 2, 3, that kind of a thing. That would be about the only time I would use that style of column, is if I'm kind of like splitting up the page. But that's how patterns work. So I don't want to go heavy into this because every single theme has the ability to do these, and some themes will and some themes won't. Gutenberg comes with a set of patterns. Then they look great on 2020, but they don't necessarily look so great on all the other pages out there. Like this is the 2020 theme, and you can kind of see how the cover page looks. The table looks pretty good. Pretty much everything looks good. It's what they've done is like a really thin content, and then they've done like really wide. Their wide sections are like popping outside the thing, and then the cover, of course, is full width. They show this off a lot in the demo here. Welcome to the Gutenberg editor. And it's like they want to, if you can actually see this demo, if you install the Gutenberg plugin and click demo, you'll actually get this. And it'll walk you through where you are in each of these things. Like right now you're reading a text block. This one's right aligned. Headings are separate blocks as well. Handling images and media, blah, 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 blah. I do like the fact that the when you're inside the images, when you drop an image in, it's very easy to get to the caption if you want to add a caption. You also have the alt text very clearly put out, but I don't like the fact that when you're dropping the image in, it doesn't give you the alt text box as part of the primary image. It puts it over there in the block sidebar, which makes it seem like it's a secondhand thing. So, and alt text should never be secondhand. Not for accessibility anyway. But that's neither here nor there. Any questions? Any new questions? You guys are being awfully quiet. You're all being quiet. If you do have a question, and I just realized I didn't turn on any of those little banners as we were going through things, so that was really smart of me. I did all those little banners and then didn't actually pop them down there when we were talking. Oh well, that's what I get for doing this kind of a demo. Shame on me. Sorry, guys. If you do have any questions, I'll go ahead and put that banner up real quick. Please feel free to drop in, because we're at this present. I don't want to go too deeply into these blocks because I think the easiest way to learn them is to use them and play with them. What you may find though is, and this is what a lot of people run into when they're working with the block editor, or like a page builder, is that they see it and then they're just stuck. They don't know what to do as far as design goes. Well, the idea is to kind of come up with a consistent concept for how you typically would lay out a page. Like if, let's say for instance, these are just standard blog entries. And you do want to add some interest. You want to have like image block, a group of images like this that are kind of grouped together in a nice little arrangement, like 3 or so images or so as a gallery. But then you do want to break up your content with a really big image or something of that nature. That's the whole idea of treating this like an editor. But if you had a situation where you were, let me go back to my site back over here. Okay. If you had a situation where maybe we were creating a call to action and you wanted a call to action at the bottom of every single paragraph or at the bottom of every single blog post, and you wanted your client to be able to put a call to action wherever they needed to put it. So let's say I've created this cover and it's just a box, and it's got a box in here for the, hey, it's a call to action. It's got a button for join me. And that should, of course, obviously have a link to whatever your call to action is. You can make this entire box be a reusable block and call it your call to action and hit save. And if I do that, I can't edit it. It's completely controlled inside this little call to action thing. So like if I'm over here on, let me update this, and I go over here to the post that I just did. So we're in here in the blog and the welcome to the Gutenberg editor, and maybe I write here at the end of this one, edit post. I want to, right here, I want to add a call to action. And there it is, the one I just created, I think. Yep, there it is. Pretty straightforward. And this would be, if you did it as a reusable block, that is the exact same block used throughout your entire website. So if you add something to reusable blocks, it's something that you can use throughout the entire website. So let's say you create something like a pricing table or something of that nature. That's kind of like the kind of thing that you would do. And you've done all the work to create a pricing table, and you want to be able to use it in multiple websites. You can actually go into manage, wrong place, manage reusable blocks. So we're going to leave this page. And there's my call to action. It's actually listed here. I can export this as a JSON file. So I can actually take it and be able to drop it into another WordPress site using this export site. And I can import a new one using add new. I can add new and create one, or I can, let me go back. I can import from JSON and then choose the file to import it. So that's pretty powerful. If you had a pattern design that you liked, and you could save it as a reusable block, and then go in and then just, when you're in the editor, sorry, wrong screen. Let me go back again. Go back to my call to action here. I keep forgetting I've got to be an edit page. Okay. So if I'm in the call to action, I can right click. Where'd it go? Sorry. Right click and convert to a regular block, and then I can edit it, and it doesn't change my existing reusable block. My reusable block is still out there, but I can edit this one. Make sense?
Yeah. We got a couple new questions in the chat if you want to drop those in.
Yeah, let me hop over there. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Let's see, from Loretta. We have, how will you know what will and what work with certain themes? Like you mentioned, the patterns work with 21, but maybe not others. You've just got to check them out. You have to preview them. The 2020 theme is designed for everything that they have created in the block editor to work perfectly with the 2020 theme. There are some block groups, like the atomic blocks, seems to work pretty good with 2020. Didn't work so good with GeneratePress, which is the theme I usually use. The other thing that's also kind of bad is that the themes aren't, and the theme directory doesn't show you which themes are Gutenberg ready or which support the block editor. Or at least I couldn't find that filter. If someone finds it, let me know. What will and what won't work. Okay, thank you, Lerner. Sorry, I saw the second question there. Gabriel has a question. So speaking to consistency, are you able to set up templates such as for blog posts? That's kind of a weird one. You don't call them templates, they're patterns. So what you could do is if you had a format that you wanted your client to use for all of their blog posts, where maybe it starts with an introduction, it has an image, it has a, all that kind of stuff, you would save that as a reusable block. And then they could break it from the blocks if they wanted to edit it. I'm not a big fan of the way that works. So I would just duplicate the post if I wanted to kind of format a look that always looks the same. They definitely do not work the same way as post templates, page templates, and stuff like that. You don't drag them from the window and change the settings in the way that you do with a post or a page template. And then Gabriel has another question. I'm more of a writer than a website designer, so this is not the way my brain works when creating a post. Yeah, Gabriel, that's fine. The whole
Gabrielle.
point. Gabrielle, thank you. Sorry about my bad. I do both. Gabrielle, in this kind of a thing, just try writing with it and see if you like the way it works as a writer. You can still write with this editor. It's a block editor. That's the only difference. So every paragraph that you create will actually be a block, but you don't have to think about it like that. You can just keep working. Is how it would typically work. I've been able to type full blog pages without even thinking about it or being distracted by it, I should say. Maybe what I would suggest though is using that top toolbar where you actually have the toolbar up at the top, and that might be a good idea if you're planning on doing, if you're going to be writing more than editing. Or designing, I should say. Okay. All right, so those were some blocks and some patterns. Let's look at some additional blocks that are available out there. I'm going to go into our plugins, and I can actually tell you what, first before I do that, I will show you kind of what they look like in different themes. So, because I want to show off Generate Blocks, which is a set of blocks that I kind of like. They're made by the same people that make GeneratePress, the theme, and he's done a lot nicer thing as far as like organizing the blocks down to 4 blocks so that you don't go crazy. I'm going to change themes. I'm going to switch to that one right now, GeneratePress, and live preview. You can kind of see that the page doesn't look exactly the same. It went full width because I had to set the page to be full width. So it doesn't have that thinner content box in the middle. It doesn't look exactly the same by any means. None of the patterns look right at all down at the bottom. But that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and change that one to that one. So it should be active now. And then I'm going to go in and I need to activate the GeneratePress Premium and some other stuff. So let me pop over here to the plugins. I'm going to activate GP Premium and Generate Blocks. This is Generate Blocks. Generate Blocks gives you a container, a grid, a headline, and buttons. But each one of the blocks has a lot more control to it than you'd ever have at the level of the blocks that are available within Gutenberg. So it kind of does a little bit of a blend. If you're used to working in GeneratePress, the theme, it gives you the ability to get to your mobile, tablet, and full website settings or desktop settings all for every single block that you drop. So let me go back in here real quick. That's activated, so go visit site. This is we don't need another hero. Let's pop in here. The whole idea on Generate Blocks is that I create a container, I add a headline to it. My headline, you'll notice over here, I've got a desktop setting, a tablet setting, and a mobile setting. So I can change the typography, the spacing, etc. for all 3 of those right there. That's really nice. I can change, I've got a lot more control over typography. I can, I can do weights, so I can pull in different font sizes, stuff like that. I can show advanced typography if I want to, and get really into depth. I have a lot more control over spacing and padding, margin, border size, the whole bit. A lot more control over colors. It'll use theme colors, but I can go in and really highlight each one of them. It has access to SVG icons. So it has like a whole list of general icons that I can pop in here if I want to. Strange place to put one of those, but you know, whatever. I'm just kind of showing it off. I'll show you this in use on some other websites in a second. I just kind of want to show you how this one works. The big difference is that when you're adding a block, it puts all the generate blocks in one little folder. So there's 4 of them right there. And then your most used would actually come up here. So like if you find that all I'm ever doing is paragraphs, lists, tables maybe, pull quotes and quotes, and then these 4 blocks, I'm done. I don't need to go anywhere else. Because let's say I want to add a button here. I can go, oops, hang on. I must still be in the block. I am still in the block. Hang on. I was in the container. Insert block after, and we'll call it buttons. And I can do, within the button settings, I can, where is it? Let's see. I think it's in the button group. Yeah, it's in the button group. So I can make them centered. I can make them stack vertically if I have 2 buttons. I can make it fill the horizontal space. I can't do that at all in the WordPress buttons. So that's kind of nice. I can also add margins right here. I've got the ability to do at the button level. I can go in and add, where is it? Not typography. Where is it? Spacing? Yeah, border radiuses. So I can go 25, 25, 25, 25, or I can click the link here. Let's see, I was going to make, if I wanted to do funny looking buttons, I could do that. Or I can click the link there and do it as so they all match. I can also do pixels, ems, or percentages, which is quite nice. So there's definitely a lot more control in Generate Blocks, and it's a free plugin. There's a really good documentation on it, and there's also some really good videos out there as well. So this cover, this container, I can make it full width, but I think I have to make my document, let's see, page attributes. No, it's not there. Where is it? It's where it should be. Default template. Oh, there it is. And now if I update it, my cover is full size. Kind of full size. Not exactly full size, but you get the impression. If we wanted to look at some of the other things available, though, let's go into appearances, plugins. Let me go. I keep forgetting where the site library is. Is it under appearances? I was asking Jen.
Sorry, what are you looking for?
I'm looking for the site library for Generate Press. Oh, you know what? I may not have it activated.
Yeah, because you should have a Generate Press one there.
I know, I'm looking for it. I'm not seeing it.
Or...
Hang on. GB Premium's active. Configure. There we go. Oop. Uh-oh. Well, that ain't nice. We never like errors like that.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. I've never gotten that. Oh, install now. Requires it to be your active theme. Okay. That may be why. Hang on. I thought it was my active theme. Oh, it's not. That's why. I didn't have access to it. Now I know why. Okay. So now, yeah. So site library. All of these are actually, here, we'll go to another. Can you guys see this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. All of these are actually built with Generate Press, or Generate Blocks on Generate Press using those 4 little blocks. So just as an example of like what you can do, pricing plans. Here's another one, kind of pretty. Most of these, they actually, I think it tells you on the list here. Yeah, this is Generate Blocks. Avery's Generate Blocks. Wordsmith is Generate Blocks. quite a few of these are actually Generate Blocks by Mike Oliver, and he's been doing a lot with them. This one's kind of a cool one. Kind of just show you what's available out there. So you can go like, not bad. And with the site library, you can just actually automatically install it. So I'm going to get out of this, I'll go back to details, and I'm going to switch to show you some of the other block editor, or the block collections real quick. So let me get out of here and deactivate Generate Blocks. And I'm going to activate Atomic Blocks.
There's a question in the chat.
Yes.
I'm working on a site and using a StudioPress theme. They're recommending I use Atomic Blocks with it. Can you use more than one type of block, i.e. Atomic and Generate Blocks, on a website? And yes you can.
Yeah, you can. It gets messy. Atomic Blocks is at least somewhat nice because, well, I'll show you when we activate it on the plugins, that you can, let's see, apologies there. I just activated Atomic Blocks, so if I go back into our website again and we edit this page, what you'll see is that in Atomic Blocks, let's see, here we go. Atomic Blocks puts their stuff in their own group, I think. Yeah, they add like a design, which, kind of. This is what it gets really weird, is they throw some of their blocks in with the regular blocks. They throw some of their blocks in with other blocks. They do have their own section for Atomic Blocks here. Not all of these worked. I tried this post in PageGrid, and I got an error. This block doesn't count. I could never get this one to work. So I don't know what was going on there. And that was with the 2020 theme. I tried it with a couple of themes and never got that one to work.
Did you try that with the Gutenberg plugin disabled?
Ah, good idea. Try that. Hang on. We'll leave site.
The one thing you will notice, though, when you have multiple block collections or block suites enabled, like Atomic Blocks and some of the others, is that a lot of them have overlapping. Some of them have overlapping blocks where they cover the same thing, so it'll get a little messy in there when you're trying to figure out which blocks to use.
Indeed. Oh, I don't want to do that. Getting out of there. There we go. Okay. Let's see. Post and page grid. Oh, there we go. It allowed you to post page. I don't have any other. I don't have any other custom post types on this one, but it does have like number of items. I only have 2 items, so it's not going to show anything more than that. You can do offset. You can do multiple columns or no columns. That kind of. I've only got 2, so this isn't really going to be a good. Let me switch to page. See if that makes any difference. Yeah, there we go. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. It's not bad. It has some options. Just you've got some settings here, so kind of a useful little fellow. What were some of the other ones though? They had Atomic Blocks has testimonial profile blocks. See, I don't like the fact that they're not doing previews, because if you have the ability to preview, why wouldn't you do one? Would be my thought. So, but they have spacers, accordions. That's kind of nice. They've got the ability to do, the collapsible accordion thingy. I'd have to play with it to see how that one works, but I thought that was kind of. They've got some useful ones. Let's put it that way. One thing they add though is this layouts, and that's when we suddenly break the mold, because I don't know whether WordPress was planning on putting their layouts there. Either they jumped ahead of the game or something. But on the layouts, I'll show you some. Let me leave this one, and we're in Generate Press, so the Atomic Blocks are not going to look good. But let me flip over to 2020, and let me actually go back again. Sorry, customize. Who's making all that paper noise?
That's me.
Watch it. We'll switch back to 2020. Why doesn't it have activate on there as an option? Activate and publish. Weird. Okay. Alright. So if I go to Atomic Blocks, this is an Atomic Block. So like this is a landing hero page with a button and everything else. However, I couldn't get rid of this white space no matter what I did. this is another one of their layouts here. Let me actually edit the page and I'll show you what these are. They get really confusing when you get in there, because when you look at them, it's a container that has a heading, a paragraph, and a button in it. If I go, I'm losing something over here to the right. That's weird. That's strange. It's actually like taking over most of my screen wheel. It's shoved like the toolbar all the way to the far left. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
That's not right. There's something over here that I can't get to. And that's not good. So whatever they've done in creating this container concept, they've kind of put it where I cannot get to the controls for that container. I can change the block type, but I can't drag and drop it. That's what I mean. Like here, I can because it's not full width. So I have more access to this particular advanced columns. Oh, nope, did the same thing. And I can move it up or down. And they've given a handle, which is kind of odd because not all of them have handles. And there's a move up, move down. They're kind of, you see what I'm talking about? Like how this toolbar does not act like the regular Gutenberg toolbars at all. That's a problem. To me, anyway. It's very confusing to me. So, and I don't know whether these are advanced columns, which is a block that is controlled by atomic blocks. So it gets kind of like, yeah. Anyway, but these are layouts. These are layouts like an about team thing, testimonials, contact us, the whole bit. And I mean, they look good. They definitely look good. But I didn't have the ability to get rid of a lot of the white space in between. So to me, it's a lot of extra space that shouldn't be in there. And let me go turn on stackable, and you'll really see how messed up it gets. I'm going to deactivate atomic blocks and just activate stackable. First off, it has a gigantic landing page here to explain everything about stackable, which is nice. But let's go back to our post here, our main post, and edit. And when I'm in here, we'll do an insert before. Oh, look. You have group into container, which was added by stackable. You can tell it was added by stackable because it has a color-coded icon, but that isn't accessible to people who don't have, who can't read those colors. So if I insert before, what you'll find is that now stackable has inserted itself into every single section and really inserted itself. And then they also have their own section called stackable. I wouldn't mind it so much if they just put them in their own section, but I don't like it when they mix and match. It's very confusing. I didn't play with any of those. I just, but kind of nifty. I guess they've got some pop-up stuff, which would probably require some additional JavaScript and things. But yeah, that's how those things work. So what was our? Let me go back to my agenda real quick. I think we did the questions. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything on our main area here. I think we have covered everything. Yeah, helpful blocks, other block collections, and questions. Yeah. So we're open for questions at this point. We're at the questions and answer stage. So, do we have any questions, guys? We have the Studio Press one. Yeah, I believe, Leah, I was going to ask this question out there. The Studio Press is the old Genesis, right?
Correct.
And I know that they wrote theirs to be compatible with Gutenberg. So I haven't tested it because I don't have a copy of it anymore. But can't tell you how well they play together or not. But you should be able to use generate blocks with it just fine. I did a couple of pages with Generate Blocks, and I was just, once I got the hang of it by watching one of Mike Oliver's videos, I got very comfortable with how they work. And I like just using 4 blocks as opposed to 27. So, any other questions, guys? From you guys, even. My dear friends here on the call. Mm-mm. No comments? No commentary at all? There was a question that came in before the call about, is Gutenberg going to do away with page builders? Or is it going to replace page builders? And I guess the whole concept would come to that one is like, it depends on how far they go with the project. Right now, I mean, you've still got the same issues where some page builders are trying to control the upper menu, the header, the sidebars, the footers, everything. Custom post types, the whole bit. And some builders aren't. And they're all doing it in different ways. And it's like the Wild West out there. And I'm not a big fan of that. I'm going to go ahead and turn the screen off so that we can have more view of us. I'm not a big fan of that concept of like everybody figuring out how to do it their own way, because if there's a lack of standardization, then everyone's going to have to learn something new every time they come across something. I personally would not invest too heavily in Elementor, because Elementor is very obviously planning on going their own way, separate from WordPress. It's kind of just obvious just from the way they're doing the things they're doing. Divi seems to be trying to focus on being a front end editor primarily, and they're not doing anything in the WordPress way. Because if you look at the back end, it's all shortcodes. So, and that's the kind of thing what you have to do is you've got to like take your website when you're using one of these editors, one of these block editors or otherwise, and turn off the plugin or switch it to the classic and see what happens to your content. Does it break everything? Can you still have a nice edited screen with images and a list and a table, and they're still there? You know, like if I go back in here, let me do that.
Which you can if you use the block editor.
Right, exactly. If I do that, if I'm in the block editor and I go here to this page and I go to my plugins and I go, I want to switch to the classic editor. Leave. And view my page, update, preview changes. It is still, I lost my YouTube video. My hero box still works. My table still works. Pretty much everything still works. Even though I'm in a classic editor now. So,
well, that's because for a lot of these blocks, they're generating the HTML and putting it directly in the post content.
Yeah, exactly.
So that way when you do deactivate it, it's still there.
Mm-hmm. So that's the thing you have to look at. Can you do that with Elementor Pro? No, you cannot. If you turn off Elementor and an Elementor website, you're broken. Totally broken.
And honestly, at least historically, what people have mainly used page builders for is just to do like basic layout stuff that you couldn't do in the standard editor in WordPress, which you can do with the new block editor.
Yeah.
Which leaves the question, what do you need those page builders for anyway?
A lot of people use them for pre-laid out complete designs. Like Elementor has like gigantic hero pages with massive amounts of content already pre-dropped everywhere you want it. But you have to sit there and think, am I doing, every single website I do is going to look exactly the same if I do that. So, I mean, granted, using a site library with GeneratePress is not that much different, but I have yet to actually start with a site library. I've looked at a site library to see how they do stuff, and then I've gone and like borrowed a couple of things. I mean, granted, a lot of my websites look a lot alike because I tend to use GeneratePress, and I like my upper menus almost always look the same.
But by doing it with those blocks, you can easily move away from GeneratePress and still have your site.
No, I'd probably stay with GeneratePress because
I like you could,
yeah,
because
I could.
Blocks.
Yeah, I like the developer who writes GeneratePress. He wrote Generate Blocks. He also writes a really good show posts, which means he's probably gonna roll that into all of these products. So I'm perfectly happy with GeneratePress. I'm never gonna leave it because it's one of those themes that actually is just really fast. So how do I feel the same about Beaver Builder? I actually am I'm less on the fence about Beaver Builder because they tend to do things more in the WordPress way. You actually can get to your short code layouts, which you cannot do in Elementor very easily. They do not, as far as I've noticed, they don't completely obliterate the admin bar. Any plugin that completely obliterates the admin bar, I get kind of pissed about because I need to be able to get back to the dashboard very easily. And Beaver Builder seems to try to stay within that format a little better. They have shortcodeitis too, but if I turn off Beaver Builder, I don't lose all my content, and I don't have a page filled with shortcodes because all of their Beaver Builder controls and configurations are actually hidden in their own post types. They're not right there in my content for the page. So at least I think that's the case. I haven't checked one in a while, but that's pretty much how I've noticed it. They also seem to be much more concerned about working with other WordPress plugins and working with the WordPress infrastructure as a whole. So like they have they worked with WooCommerce to do their interfaces. They haven't just done it on their own and said, okay, if WooCommerce changes, oh well, I don't care. And I've noticed that Elementor doesn't seem to work with other plugins as consistently like that. Divi doesn't either, but Divi has like a large group of developers around it that write all of those interfaces, the other interfaces. So I don't know. And I can't give you any answers as far as like Oxygen and Astra and all of these other ones, Visual Composer, etc. Loretta's got another question up here. I'm creating a website and I need to use plugin to translate the site into different languages. Is there a plugin that works better with Gutenberg that you're aware of? WPML or Polylang both work with Gutenberg. So I would probably go with Polylang first, I think, because it's free. And you can bring these questions like that, any more specific ones like this that we don't answer, you can actually bring them to our Ask Us Anything on July 6th. So our next WordPress
July 7th.
meetup, July, is it 7th?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was the 6th. I'm sorry. July 7th, Tuesday, is our next Ask Us Anything. We'll be putting out another post on the Facebook group and everywhere else pretty soon. And our next talk is actually July 21st on, is it still July 21st? Or am I off of my dates?
No, you're good.
21st is a Tuesday. So.
Okay, yeah. It'll be our Google everything talk. It's about basically how to get your small business or your business with a new website configured and set up with Google. So like we'll help you get your Google My Places piece done, or Google My Business now. Help you do your Google Analytics, your Google Search Console, and how to configure that within your website. Jen, are we going to be using that with the Google Site Kit plugin, or do you want to use something else? I can't remember. We talked about it.
Probably the site kit, but I might look at a couple others as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't want to go deep into like Yoast or anything like that. I want to kind of keep it light on the SEO if we can. So it's more about how to configure and then go from there and how to read your stuff. So any other questions, folks? We have time. A few more minutes. I'll give you a countdown. 10, 9, 8. No. Okay. All right, folks. We are WordPress St. Petersburg. Like I said, be sure to visit our website at wptampabay.org. That is a list of where you'll always find out where our schedule is. This video is on our YouTube. It will be on our YouTube immediately after this call, so you can always keep rewatching it if you want to. But all of our videos, all of our slides, etc., are on our website. I may publish that little list of what do you call it? That little hot list. I may publish that as a document so that you guys can see it. And don't have to go find it, but I will definitely give you the link to that one YouTube video because that's the one that kind of talks about all this stuff anyway. Be sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube. It helps us get nice points and stuff. At some point, it may even allow us to monetize. I don't know. But if you're watching our video, you should be subscribed to us. If you're here on our thingy, you should definitely be a member of our meetup group. And let's see. I think that was the last of those. So we will see you in, I guess it's 3 weeks now because it's July 6th. 7th is 3 weeks. So enjoy your 4th of July holiday. Keep your mask on. Do not stay 6 feet apart. Social distance.
Be careful.
Be careful.
Take care.
Don't keep all this stuff going. Wait a minute. We got another comment here. Oh, never mind. It's just a simple one. It says, so you're going back to live... No, we're not going back to live meetings in July, Leah. We're doing live streaming in July. Our hosting site is also staying... we're staying very much COVID-19 quarantine. We are not going to be meeting back in person again for a while until our numbers are down in St. Pete and this thing is under control. So we are going to continue to live stream at least through July.
Probably this time next year.
If we're lucky. If we're lucky. So anyway, we will see you in about 3 weeks on live stream. Again, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And we will talk to you again in 3 weeks and have a wonderful, wonderful evening. Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Thank you for watching our recorded session from WordPress St. Pete Meetup. We meet twice a month on the first and third Tuesdays in downtown St. Pete at the Suncoast Developers Guild. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up in YouTube and be sure to subscribe and click the bell to be notified when new videos are added. Find out more about WordPress St. Petersburg at our website at wptampabay.org.